Welcome to Ask the Expert North Texas here on News Radio 1080 KRLD. I'm David Rankin.
And I'm Kristen Diaz. And some of you might remember Jump Rope for Heart when you were in school. It was an activity and a fundraising goal for the American Heart Association. If you're like me and you haven't been in school for a while, things have changed. We have Amanda Heffley. She is the Regional VP of School Engagement joining us on today's Ask the Expert. And this is just exciting to know that the American Heart Association, Amanda, continues to make an impact on young lives and to really express in the school age kids that this is something that they're going to need to learn for the rest of their life, and that is heart health.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly right. The thing that we say is prevention starts at 5, not 50. So when we get to go into these schools and teach them that it's exciting to drink water sometimes with a little fruit in it, as opposed to a sugary beverage, that's a pretty neat thing to see the turnkey in their head go, oh, okay, that's easy.
Yeah, for sure.
You get a lot of interesting questions from kids that you might not get from adults. They make you go, I hadn't thought of that.
I'll get a lot of interesting comments from kids. We get to go in. Now it's called Kids Heart Challenge, which really makes it kind of a bigger, broader scope as opposed to just jumping. But definitely when we say some things in the assembly, when we come in and kick off, kids will out you, parents. I mean, when we're talking to them about not vaping, if you vape at home, we found out about it during that assembly.
That's one thing. Kids are going to tell. They're going to tell you, oh, my mom doesn't eat that, or my dad does that, and my uncle. So let's talk about that. Jump Rope for Heart is not the thing now. What is it? What does it change to, and what does the program look like now?
Yes, Kristen. So it's called Kids Heart Challenge now. And it's really still a movement based, get the kids excited about heart health, get the kids excited about helping kids with sick hearts. But we've moved it broader. We've made it where it's a whole school program and it's a turnkey program. I remember Jump Rope for Heart. I'm 41 years old. And we did Jump Rope for Heart in my school. And it's kind of similar, but we've just made it a lot bigger to reach a lot more people. Call it Kids Heart Challenge. And then for our middle and high schools, we call it American Heart Challenge. So yeah, we have a 2-part program.
So one thing about the Kids Heart Challenge is the fact that one of the mainstays of it is you've got 25 different ways to get kids to move. And how many kids are just not moving because they're too busy staring at their phones?
Sure, right. So it's a problem now. I have an 11-year-old son, and getting him even moving, even with his love of sports. So the 25 different ways to move is trying to hit a couple of different ways for kids that may think, I don't want to go out and run. Well, yeah, me either. But you might want to get up and do some yoga moves or do a couple jumping jacks during your not computer break. Now they're watching YouTube, aren't they, with like little short clips, but before moving on to your next clip, doing jumping jacks. So definitely we try to encourage our older generations, our middle school, high schoolers, to move in different ways. And then our elementary school kiddos, we try to get them excited. We have little incentives for them to move more and get excited about that.
So movement is one of the key components. What are some of the other lessons in these programs?
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked, Kristen. When I was in school, it was a little different. It was just counting your jumps. This time, now with Kids Heart Challenge, we get to teach these kids how to do hands-only CPR. We actually have a great story that came out where a kindergartner helped save a life because he knew to call 911 and knew the amount of beats it took. So that is a big focus. We also focus on anti-vaping for our middle and high schools, as I said. We focus on helping people with sick hearts. It's really great to see these young kids get motivated, and we'll come back into the schools. We're in these schools often, and for them to say, hey, I got my aunt to donate some money and I think I helped save someone's life. And to put that in perspective, it's a really cool thing for them to make a difference.
It's also huge because once you get your kids involved in something, chances are the kids want to get their parents involved. And looking at those 25 moves, for example, that's something we should be incorporating into our adult lives as well.
100%. It's something, one thing I love about this program is it fosters communication between parents and students. there are things that we ask them to go home and talk to their parents about. And it really kind of opens a dialogue for the dinner table. I know I'm always looking for extra dialogue at our dinner table to talk about different, even warning signs of stroke. We have that in our programming. We have that on our materials, warning signs of a heart attack. And they can talk about that. And they can also, as a family, choose to take a Move More challenge.
Is this a nationwide program, or is this only focused here in Texas?
So it's nationwide, and I certainly couldn't quote the exact amount of schools that participate nationwide, but in North Texas, we have almost 660 schools that completed an event last year with us, and 43,000 students that participated. So that means 43,000 students were hearing that message and getting energized and excited about heart health.
How do teachers get involved, and how do they get to be part of the program?
Sure. So we're kind of in our active recruiting phase on our end, going in and talking to schools about this turnkey program that's really pretty fun for a lot of students to give them that remember when moment. But really, they can go online if a teacher or if a parent wants to know if their school's interested, they can go to heart.org/get started, and they can pull up their school, or they can send in a thing saying, yeah, I want to do it.
I love that. I love the involvement. And, Amanda, this is a cherished memory of mine. When I started thinking about American Heart Association when I was a little girl in elementary school in Coppell ISD here in the area, I remember we had Jump Rope for Heart, and we had fundraising goals, and I had raised the most amount of money in my school. I didn't realize it, but next time we had a pep rally, American Heart Association came out, gave me a big old medal and a certificate, and my parents were there. They surprised me, didn't tell me that I was going to get this award. It was such a cool thing in front of the entire school. I got called down from the bleachers, and it was such a moment. You were talking about how that one child, came up to you and says, I think I saved somebody's life by raising money. At that impressionable age, that is such a huge thing. Is this still a fundraiser?
Yes. So it is still a fundraiser. We're pretty open about, you said a medal. I've got a medal right here. My son is always his top fundraiser at his school, and that medal is so important. We love to give, and you're having that remember when moment. Oh my gosh, I remember when I did Jump Rope for Heart.
Absolutely.
So it is still a fundraiser for the American Heart Association. All those funds are taken and given to research. And that is something that we teach the kids too when we come in and do this program. And we kind of walk it through so they can kind of learn, oh, it goes to scientists. Well, I want to be a scientist. And part of the Kids Heart Challenge new programming is we have a STEM component to it. We have the CPR hands-only component to it. So there's some really neat aspects of that, but I love that you still remember your Jump Rope for Heart. Remember?
Oh yeah, that was a big old bronze medal. I got it still somewhere in the garage, but I do have it.
You don't get rid of.
Yeah, my cousin.
I'll tell my employers here. I think I should get a raise for this.
Yeah, exactly. Have you seen my medal?
Right.
The other part of this thing is coming up in less than a month. We've got the Hard Walk that's coming up, and does a challenge like this kids challenge, does that also make kids say, Mom, Dad, there's an event coming up. Can we go do that as well? Do you get more kid involvement in Heart Walk?
Yes, with the Heart Walk. It's really cool. As a youth market team, we go to all of our local Heart Walks, and it's really wonderful to see the families come up and talk to us, and the kids will say, well, is my school doing it again this year? And we want to make sure that we're doing it. Oftentimes our schools do it not in September since school's just getting rolling. So it's really great how it goes hand in hand. And certainly there probably are students that say, oh, I saw an ad for the Heart Walk. Let's go do that. I'm a heart hero. That's what we tell them in our assemblies. They're heart heroes. So
love that. Absolutely. Just curious, when we talk about heart health, how many kids are actually affected by heart disease? Is that just something that affects adults only?
No, there are, I think it's 1 in 100 is the exact number now. Don't quote me. I know I'm recorded. But that do suffer heart disease, CHD, congenital heart defects. But what's really cool, when we go into these schools, almost always families can identify, well, they they have the opportunity to identify as a heart hero, a heart survivor, when they participate in our program. And almost always we have at minimum one at schools, usually 2 to 5. And so on our end, it's really neat because we get to highlight those survivors, and it wakes those students' eyes up to, oh, it's not just grandma and grandpa that can have heart disease. It's Susie sitting next to me.
And that's the issue too, is kids can be a little bit more empathic and feel more empathy for other students that might be having issues. And maybe they take part in this just because my friend over here has a heart issue and I want to help him or her.
Absolutely. One of our favorite things is when we can highlight a survivor at one of our kickoff pep rallies. And we always tell the kids to high five that kid, and the teachers may cringe, but high five that kid that day in the hallway and say, you're a heart hero. And that kid's face and the messages we get from their parents, and then the messages we get from the students that don't have heart disease, that they're like, hey, my kid gets it now. They get also why they should keep their hearts healthy.
Are there any goals this year set for this program, whether that be fundraising or reaching out to more schools or getting more kids involved?
Definitely. So our theme this year is we would like to build a nation of lifesavers. We want everyone to know about hands-only CPR. We want every campus to be safer in that regard. We would love, obviously we would love 100% of the schools in North Texas to participate. But if we can move that needle from 660 schools in North Texas to 1,000 schools in North Texas, think of how many more students are going to hear that message of heart healthy behaviors, of kindness. We also add that in. We add the STEM component. But that's that many more students that are going to join our nation of lifesavers.
Don't forget, you all can join us for the Heart Walk happening in Dallas on September 23rd. David Rankin and I will be out there. We're excited to see you, your team, your family, know your why. You can sign up for that online. We'll have links for that on KRLD.com. But for right now, thank you so much, Amanda Heffley, for joining us today. That again, she is with the American Heart Association here on KRLD.
Thanks for having me.